More than 8 in 10 Earth scientists agreed in a recent poll that the Earth is warming up. And as some researchers warn the planet is approaching a climate tipping point, nuclear experts caution against another kind of tipping point. Their concern is the nuclear threat, that as nations rush to nuclear energy to avoid adding to the world's greenhouse gases, some could develop nuclear weapons. Italy, which is one of Europe's largest importers of oil and gas, was one of 12 countries last year that announced plans for a total of 34 new nuclear reactors. At his inaugural, President Barack Obama addressed the issue.
With old friends and former foes, we will work tirelessly to lessen the nuclear threat and roll back the specter of a warming planet.
Thank you very much.
A panel of experts who gathered recently at the U.S. Institute of Peace urged the Obama administration to push for a new international regime. They propose allowing countries to acquire nuclear fuel for energy, but requires spent fuel to be returned to the international nuclear watchdog. But a former non-proliferation official for the White House, Daniel Poneman, says the international community must give guarantees of reliable nuclear fuel supplies.
Commercial guarantees, national guarantees, international guarantees backed by the International Atomic Energy Agency. It's going to have to be economical, and I think it's perfectly defensible for something that could save us from world catastrophe.
These experts say that Mr. Obama inherits the dual problem of North Korea and Iran, but former Undersecretary of Defense Eric Edelman says diplomacy can be successful.
But it will require us to rivet the attention of the international community more effectively than we have on the challenges that Bill described and that I've just tried to describe about what we might face in the future, and to use more effectively economic tools that both North Korea and Iran have been subject to.
On Iran, the UN has imposed 3 rounds of sanctions as a means of getting Tehran to suspend its uranium enrichment program, but Iran has not complied. Experts say one reason for the failure is that Washington's relations with Moscow are at a low point. Robert Joseph at the National Institute for Public Diplomacy says Russia has its own strategic and commercial interests.
These interests, and to some extent, the desire to deny the United States diplomatic victory.
But he is hopeful that the Obama administration will be able to reach some kind of agreement with Moscow on this.
Both of these initiatives, both in the nuclear terrorism area and the nuclear energy area, provide for cooperation where our interests intersect, where we both believe that our national interests are critically involved.
Experts say they are hopeful that eventually the world community will be able to reach a consensus on a system that will allow an expansion in nuclear energy sector without increasing the risk of nuclear proliferation. Ravi Khanna, VOA News, Washington.